Oh guys, hope you're keeping well. Things are sort of easing up a little bit over here. As I say, I hope you're all well. Something a little bit different that I've been working on over probably the last month or so, maybe more. This little Kamov 26 hoodlum. It was a kit made by Scale Heli Quality, I think they were called. I don't know if you know anything about the Kamov, the real one. It's like we call it like the Russian tractor of the sky. They use it for absolutely everything, and you never see a clean one like this because this is like the passenger one that they made, because the original ones or the farmers ones are normally cut away here, and they've got like a hopper in there, and they use for spreading fertilizer, whatever they want, seed and stuff like that. And they have a big hopper in there. But what gets me is these helicopters, the farmer sort of keeps them in the field, and I think they probably use them once a year. And if you look on YouTube and type in Kamov 26 hoodlum, you'll see loads of them starting up for the first time, and they've got like grass up to the windows, and you can't see the wheels or anything like that. And they just get in them and start them up. They blow smoke rings out the exhaust. They're fantastic to watch start up. And if you see them doing a blade tracking, well, that's another story. But it could only sort of happen in Russia. I mean, doesn't seem to be like any pre-flight checks. They sort of just start them up, and then they go and fly up and down the field, spreading the old seed or fertilizer. Now, this one, it was a passenger one. I think it was a 4-seater, had like 4 seats in the back. It must be incredibly noisy because you've got these 2 radial engines on each side that must have made a racket, or they do. But being a coaxial, got no tail rotor or anything like that, and they seem to fly, quite well. They handle really nice, and they actually I think they use a downwash of the air, and it goes over these rudders, and they actually use the rudders to help them steer. But they're such a mechanical thing. They are like an old tractor. When you look inside them, now the Russians build things. I mean, it's so ugly. It really is an ugly thing. And when you see them, I mean, this one's kind of, because I've just built it, it's all pristine and clean and whatever. But when you see the real ones, they are just rusty and filthy dirty, and I suppose they must have to do maintenance on them, But anyway, getting back to the kit. Now, I wasn't very impressed when I got the kit. It's all that clear plastic, what you have to glue together. This is one of the engine sides. I don't know why, but they sent me 2 thicknesses of engine covers. It's a bit awkward to talk to say the least. They're not very helpful. But you get a CD with this, and all you get is pictures to build it, and a lot of pictures of the real thing. But there's no instructions. They said to me there was instruction in Germany, but there isn't any instructions. So it's kind of like one of them old-fashioned kits from the 70s, which I've built many of, where you have to kind of go your own way and sort out, what you've got to do. Also, there's really no cut lines on the thing. The mouldings or whatever, they must have made a lot of them, and the cut lines have all but disappeared, So you've got to be so careful when sort of building it. And you spend more time looking at the pictures, keep looking and looking, how does that work, how does that fit? Because, you can't really tell. Classic one really was these tail parts here, these booms here. I mean, they just showed you the 2 sections which you cut out. Again, no cut lines. And then they showed you them like stuck together. But there's quite a big bit in between that, I would think. And what they give you is a kind of a sheet of this clear plastic. I sort of roughed it all up. So what you have to do, well, what I did, I don't know whether it's right or not, you have to kind of make little edges like that. So you've got one there, and you kind of stick the other one over it like that. So you glue that on first, and you glue that on that, and that's the way I built the whole helicopter. Now it's got quite a lot of detail in it. I mean, it was so difficult. A lot of the parts, like masking up the windows and stuff like that. And another big awkward bit to do, because this, everything was in two halves, and you had to glue it down the middle. You have to cut so this whole front comes off. So you've got a line there which you follow, and the only way I could think of doing it was with a scalpel. So I've still got all my fingers at the moment, and you have to go around with a really sharp scalpel and cut down that line along there, all around here, so it fits nice, all the way around here, up there, to that little piece up there. So that's kind of, you don't really got a lot of instructions to show you that. They just show you with it on and with it off. So you got that like that and that like that. So you have to kind of think, well, obviously I've got to cut this to get it off. Now, also, little things like this. There's no way, they don't tell you how you're supposed to glue that on to there. So, you just got to try and make it fit as nice as possible. And I just run a little bit of cyano and epoxy around it, to fix that, to secure that. Now, the mechanics for this is the Esky Big Lama. Maybe some of you guys have heard of it. I mean, it comes with this sort of, this horrible fuselage, it's like a Jet Ranger. I've never seen a coaxial Jet Ranger, but there you go. And I thought, I fly all types of helicopters and things, and the old coaxials I used to fly used to be quite docile and, no problem. But this one, it just, every time I flew it, not with this body on, but with this fuselage on, every time I flew it, it just kept getting blaze strikes. It says you can fly it in like 3 mile an hour wind, something like that. But honestly, if there was any breeze about anything, if you try to, turn it, not sort of like super fast or anything, but a gentle turn, and you want to tighten the turn up a bit, the blades will hit each other and it'll plummet out the sky and do a lot of damage. So I was very sort of worried that when I built this, that it wasn't going to be, all my coaxials have been so easy to fly, you never crash them, they just fly. And this is kind of supposed to be an outdoor one, but they do suffer from blaze strikes. Now, you can get a higher mast on the top here, but it's too high in there now for scale, so I didn't want to go any higher, so I've left it kind of, I've seen some with a 3-blade head. So what I was doing was, I thought, well, maybe I'll get myself a blade. So I bought a blade, but I didn't realise it's a lot smaller. But this flies, it's not got so good forward flight as the Esky, but you can do what you like with it and you don't get blaze strikes. But the mechanics are a little bit too small to go in that heli. It's a lot, as you can see. The rotor size is a lot bit different. I think it's 400 for the Esky. I can't remember what the blade was, but this is a nice little toy we got off eBay, cheap. But anyway, back to the Kamov. Now, the things I like about these Kamovs is the suspension and stuff like that. Well, it all comes with 3D printed suspension. You've got horrible white wheels, and they look like if you was to have any sort of rough landing, they would just snap off. They absolutely, to me, I say rubbish, but they look nice, but it was something you'd put on a static model and leave it on the shelf and hope you didn't knock it off. They were absolutely no good for a radio control model. So, seeing as I liked the suspension of the real ones, because you can see them come up when they take off, I've made my own legs. Got full suspension, even the front little caster wheels, they've got suspension both sides. and you can actually run it along the ground and take off if you want to. So you can see we've got it all works. So I made all that suspension myself. That's what I do. And I left a little gap so when you see it take off, you can see the suspension kind of like come down as it takes off. Now they give you some little magnets. These ones are glued on the outside. There's some little square magnets there on each side, another one's there. And you know, this was the bit I was telling you about how it's so awkward to cut off. You've got to be so careful, you know. But I've kitted this one out with lights because they've got like a little flashing light on the back. The lights are a little bit too bright. I'm going to see if I can knock them down a little bit. Let's plug this one in. Okay. So we've got the sort of flashing beacon on the back. Port and starboard lights on there. So a little bit bright. I might make, you know, like when you've got like a little streamlined cowling, so you just see them going sort of forward. But the thing with it as well, there's no adjustment on the transmitter. You've got like full one way and full the other way, and you can't change it forward and back, elevator, ailerons. You're stuck with it. The only thing I did was I moved the push rods one hole in to make it a bit more docile, so you can't actually slap the blades together. But saying that, I took it out a few weeks ago over airfield and it was calm and it was struggling to fly forward. But there is another reason for that, which I will get to. But I tried to bind it to my old DX7. Now, it binds to the receiver, but the little 3-in-1 control box, which does the 2 rotor speeds for the rudder, it won't work. It binds everything perfectly, but it won't work the controller. I know some guys, I think, have taken out the controller from the blade that I've got over there. So I might look down that route in the future, because it's either too much with if you put the rods out for the ailerons and the elevator, and if you move them in, it's not enough. Now, if you could run a Field Force 7, you know, something like that, DX7 or Futaba, you could actually fine-tune with a little bit of exponential, and then if you did get in trouble and you panic, you wouldn't kind of get all that movement going one way or the other way. So I'm still looking into run it off a proper transmitter, because, you know, basically that's got nothing on it whatsoever. You've got to reverse. So kind of, if you could get it on a nice transmitter, you can make it fly a lot smoother. So that's kind of another thing I'm looking at. Now the canopy, you just have to sort of hold it on. It's a bit fiddly. And just push it on, and the little magnets, you've got one there, you've got one at the front and one at the side. And I just made 2 little pieces come off of here, just so that can run onto it. These engine casings, they're made out of, I think we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, probably about 7 or 8 bits to make them. Quite involved, but, you know, not bad. Now, the thing that makes this heli heavy is the resin parts on it. Now, they are really, really heavy. Whether you could have made them out of you know, balsa wood or something like that, or some lighter material. I mean, I don't know why they didn't just make them out of the clear, like Lexa material that they've got for the rest of it. But saying that, this was, when I first started flying it had no sort of duration, and it was shaking, all sorts of things. It weren't very nice to fly. It was horrible. Now, and also very, very tail heavy. I mean, you had to have the trim full forward to get it to kind of hover, you know, and to try and get it to go forward was kind of really difficult. Now, this is the original tail parts. So you had the fin that's made out of resin. You've got the two side, whatever you want to call them, rudders, stabilisers. Now, this is a real, together, is a real heavy lump. And with that stuck on the end of there, it was just so tail heavy. I couldn't fly it. Well, you know, just about get off the ground. And the helicopter was shaking because, you know, it's so much effort to get up. The motors were getting hot. You know, I thought it was going to do a lot of damage. So what I've done is I've made a balsa wood, whole assembly out of balsa wood, you know, and it weighs absolutely nothing. This is almost all up weight of the original big llama. So I was very pleased with that. I still have to fly with a fair bit of trimming the front, but like I say, I'm still looking to modify the radar itself in here so I can work off a different transmitter. Because say the only way I can alter anything on this heli is by moving the servos rods in or out, which is too much or not enough. But the springs work very well. You know, when you take off, you can actually see them rise up. There's a little bit of detail I'm missing off of here, which I did have. They've got like, I don't know what it is, whether it's a shock absorber, but it comes out from here and it goes down there. It's like a V shape and it just comes out like that. I did have them on there, made them out of sort of thin plastic, but they broke. So I'm looking to make a better thing from that so you can see those move. I only just put the decals on this morning, so that's why I thought I'd do a video. There's also, you can move this backwards and forwards. Let's just take the canopy off again. On the CD, when you see how they put the battery in this, like scale quality helicopter or whatever it is, helicopter scale quality, I think they're called in Germany. When you see them put this battery in, it's just thrown in, so it sits up at an angle like that. And they tell you to cut this front little ledge off. There's a little ledge under there. They tell you to cut that off and put the 3-in-1 gyro setup and a receiver underneath there. But you don't need to do that. If you've only got to push this back, I would say 2 mil, 3 mil, and you put the receiver on the servo on that side, and you put the 3-in-1 gyro on that side. So it leaves this whole front empty, and you can put the battery on the battery tray, which gives it almost, I mean, the balance is nigh on spot on. The C/G is spot on. So it maybe could do a little bit more weight in the front, but I don't want to put anything more weight in there really. So in putting the 3-in-1 and a receiver on that side, you save so much space, and you can put the battery nice and neat. I'm going to sort of paint that black or do something with it, and it just gives you room. I mean, whether I could get a pilot in there, I don't think there's really enough. You know, I'll keep looking at different types of battery to get in there, but it just makes it look nice and neat when it's in there. The motors do get a bit warm. I think it's one of the weaknesses of this, but I only fly it around the garden a couple of times and bring her in, and it's just nice to run along the floor. And you know, in the evening when it's calm, it's a wonderful thing. It's quiet, it's smooth, you know, and I've had no dramas with it yet. Not to say that I won't. I'm thinking of painting the blades maybe as well, but you know, the good thing with these wheels is, I'll bring it back here. You can see they just caster, so you can just sort of steer it wherever you want it to go, and it goes in a dead straight line. So it is a fun little thing just to run around the floor. So I think this is a 3-cell, I think it's only 800 battery. Whether you could get, you know, I've not really had a look around for the batteries, so I'm not sure. The other thing is the company that make the fuselage, they sort of say glue everything together. Well, I hate that. So what I've done is I've made this part here is screwed on. You can see I've just got a couple of holes here, and I've got Allen screws going through there with little nuts and bolts. So if any time I want to take that off, the top off, I can to get to the end. The actual mechanics take like 2 minutes to get out. All you've got to do is undo these 4 screws, pull the plugs out for the lights, and the whole lot comes out. It's one of the easiest things to work on. Not a problem whatsoever. I've run the lights, the flashing light runs from there all the way down the boom and into the cockpit. I've used their 3D suspension steadies on there, and the front they just tacked on, but I've not had any trouble with them coming off. But I say there is a bit of detail missing off of there, so that's what I'm looking for next, is to make that up. So the actual body itself has got like a wooden, I think it's probably about 10mm square. It goes right across from one engine side to the other engine case. It's a hardwood like bearer. Where are we? And it goes from there to the other side. So I thought to myself the good thing to do was to mount these wheels on that hardwood bearer, and it's long enough. And what I've done is I've drilled and tapped the tops of them. I mean, I don't know if you can see the spring there working. So I drilled them so I can unscrew them from there, and I can take the arm off. And if I want to do any maintenance on the arm or the suspension, all I've got to do is undo that screw, put it back, as simple as that. Same as the front ones. I've got screw caps on there, as you can see. Just take the screw cap off, take the wheel off, and the spring comes out, and the whole lot can come out. If you want to work, or if you damage it, you can change it. You know, they're not really that hard to make. So everything on it I can get apart, because it has been apart a few times, because to getting the right clearance for the arms in there, it was a little bit of a squeeze. But I think putting the batteries on the servos like that is quite a good idea, because it does make it nice and neat. And I've shortened all the wires down, I've cut all the wires down, and then I've actually soldered them direct to the 3-in-1 and the receiver. So that's saved quite a lot of weight. You cut everything down to the bare minimum. If I could get smaller plugs for this and the lights, I would. But at the moment, I'm using the thinnest wire I've got, and it seems to fly fine. This morning I flew it for about 8 minutes, so it didn't seem to go flat. I just need sort of a little bit more forward for the model, which I'm looking at, like I say, changing the radio or something like that. But it's a nice little thing, and it's a coaxial that should be a coaxial, if you know what I mean. It's not kind of like a Jet Ranger or a Apache or something with twin rotors. And if you watch these real ones on YouTube, you won't believe, like I said to you, the state of some of them. And they blow smoke rings out the exhaust when they do you watch one with a cold start. They are just amazing things. They are a proper sort of like a piece of like farmyard machinery. It is a fantastic thing. Well, I'm going to sign off now, guys. I'm going to do another video. I've got another little project which I'm working on. Not the toy and 4-cylinder, which kind of got a lot of other things on the go at the moment. And I'm just going to take the camera off for a minute and show you my other project which I've been working on, which is almost completed. So let's just take the camera off here, and we'll swing it round to my Aprilia 125. Now, I think I've done only very small videos on this. I'm kind of hoping to do like an in-depth one on it, because it's been a bit troublesome, to say the least. But I've had I had to prep all the body panels. I think you might have seen them. So I prepped all the body panels, It took me, you know, weeks, probably a month or so, you know, and it was a massive job. And he got the price down a bit for the painting. So I've got it all back to standard. I don't know if any of you guys have seen how it was. It was just, you know, the actual engine and all the parts came in a dustbin, and it was just a frame with two wheels on. And when I say two wheels, the front one was more square than round, you know. I had to bin that and I bought a new front wheel. But I've sort of had the engine rebuilt and I've done all the frame. I managed to find bits here, there and everywhere for it. It's kind of a beautiful thing. You won't see many of these around. They're like a proper little race bike. Absolutely lovely. And I've got MOT Friday at 3 o'clock. I think it should be alright. The guy said I'm still waiting for a screen from Germany at the moment. I've got no screen on it, but I've got everything else on it, all the lights work and everything like that. I think I've got a little electrical gremlin, because I took it up the road the other day and it blew a fuse. I don't know why. I put another one in and it seems alright, but the rev counter seems to be running a bit erratically. It kind of, sometimes it works good and other times it sort of jumps around all over the place. And I think maybe I've got like an electrical fault somewhere, because you know the rev counter's connected up to the coil and all stuff like that, and if you've got a problem there, it will sort of show itself up through there. So the other one I've got as well on this is the starter motor. It throws the Bendix out quite a lot. If you've got the battery fully charged and you just take it off a charger, it will start fantastic. But as soon as it sort of goes down to 12 volts, it turns it over, but it keeps chucking it out. As soon as it fires, it just keeps throwing the Bendix out. So, you know, I might have to have a look at that and find out. But I want to get it MOT'd, get it on the road so I can give it a run around, because I'm not sure the jet size. I've gone with a jet, which I think is right for this engine, and hopefully we got it right. It's very oily at the moment, but I don't mind that because it's brand new engine. So, you know, it's been a big project, quite enjoyable sometimes. I've got the original indicators on there, and you can see that it's a beautiful spray job. I've got all the correct fittings for the tank now, because it was just laying on the frame. That there's like a rubber block in there, and there's two spacers, so they bottom out on that, and the rubber just sort of floats. Nice stuff. And it wasn't that expensive. Some of the parts, ridiculous money. You buy second hand and you refurbish them. You know, I've done the work on the mirrors. Got them quite cheap. Yeah, it's looking good. So I'm going to sign out now, guys. I've got another video I'm going to do soon. So keep well, keep safe, and I'll see you in the next one.